Hello everyone, welcome to another Tiermaker, and tonight we are going to piss some people off as we rank American cities. I've not been to all of them, but I've been to most of this list. A majority. I have opinions. Some of them are fair, some of them might not be fair. Feel free to let me know in the comments, or if you're watching this live on Twitch right now, put it in the comments. Alright, first, let's knock out the ones I've not been to. There's a few. I have not been to Anchorage. Never been to Alaska. Would love to. Never have been. Philadelphia. I've not been to Philly. I'm sorry, Philly. Your town might be cool. Detroit. Haven't been. Sorry. Baltimore. Sorry. Atlantic City. I've never been to Jersey. Well, no. Never been to Jersey. I'm sorry. I've not. Pittsburgh and Philly both. I've not been. I'm sorry. San Diego. It's so weird. I've never been to San Diego. I don't know why. So I'm knocking out a bunch on this list of places I haven't been. St. Louis and Kansas City. I have a really good friend that lives in Kansas City. He might even be watching the stream right now. I've never been to his city. I'm sorry. I tend, when I travel, I tend to go west or east. And for work, it's always been west, as you'll see on this list here. Indy, no. Memphis, no. Atlanta, no. I've never been to Atlanta. All right, this might be a quick tier maker. Cincy, no. Cleveland, no. Okay, the rest of this list I've been to. All right. So on the count, how are we looking? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. Okay, a little more than half I've been to. Now, there are people out there who are like, I've been to almost every major city in the US. Cool, awesome. Lately, I've been making more of a focus to try to travel internationally, but you do you, and I'll do me. And by the way, I looked at the tier maker list for European cities, and they're all over the place, and you know, I haven't been that many, so I can't do that one. But this one makes a little more sense because I've been to more than half of the list. So let's go. Chat already. Kansas City is great, says Soma. I've heard it's great, and other than I have to hate their football team because they play in the same division as my crappy Broncos, I have nothing against Kansas City or, well, St. Louis. I hate the Cardinals because I'm a Cub fan. So there, I have reasons for not going. No, really, it's in the Midwest. I have been to Nebraska plenty, South Dakota plenty, North Dakota because I grew up there. I've been to Oklahoma City, but for some reason, Missouri's kind of been this black hole. I've never really been to Kansas/Missouri. I think I've been to Wichita on a work trip once, but that's about it. Kansas City is the most public fountains in the world, next to Rome, the cheapest, cleanest drinking water in the country. Okay, cool. Hey, I've drank out of the water fountains in Rome. They're clean as hell. Okay, Atlanta sucks, says Soma. Don't you live around that area? Okay, here we go. Let's start with the city that I live in. It's Dallas, Texas. I'm going to go A tier, all right? Now, I'm a little biased. I've lived here for about 18 years now. More than 18 years. I've been here for 20 plus years. And Dallas has pretty much everything that you need in a major city. I'm not crazy about the heat in the summertime. That took some time to adjust to. But having said that, all the major sports are here. If you are into sports, every major concert comes through here, almost every major. Sometimes shows that don't even play in some other major cities we get because it's kind of like a central stop. You talk about the Midwest being flyover states, but Texas itself catches a lot of that funneling through of bands and major artists that tour through. So that is really nice. I will say, as someone who's lived here for a while, property taxes are still pretty fair in terms of the rest of the country. House prices, etc., are not out of control, and Dallas still has no state tax. They get you on in other places, so don't, let's not think that no state tax. I'm trying not to get political, but at the same time, no state tax, but sales tax is 8.25%, which is higher than most states. So they kind of hit everybody, including more of the common man that way. It kind of sucks. But by and large, Dallas has everything I ever need and then some. Good art museums, whatever you want is pretty much in this town. Now, you can say that about a lot of the other cities on this list in terms of having what you need. But I do like that the wintertime is not very cold. That has been great for someone who grew up in a lot of cold. I like that. So, and Dallas, I'm I'm okay. I just thought of something. I'm dropping it to a B. The mass transit in this town is really subpar. You have trains, and they've added trains. Like, they only had the blue and red line when I first moved here. Now they've got a green line and like a yellow line or something. But there's still so many places that the trains don't go because Dallas is so spread out. Everyone drives everywhere. So it's nice seeing more and more electric cars on the roads, but to really be a top tier city, you've got to have a good public transit system. And for that, I have to ding my own city. So I think a B is fair. What do you think? At least y'all have mass transit. We have some transit that sometimes shows up. Other cities don't have Deep Ellum. Kapow, kapow, kapow. Is that supposed to be gunfire? Deep Ellum's been rough lately. Deep Ellum's a really cool part of town. Very artsy. A lot of good bars that have good concert like venues. And it has gone up and down in terms of crime. And right now it's pretty rough. There's a lot of shootings and stuff that happen down there. Not every day, but it's not good. So if I'm down in Deep Ellum, it's to see a show and then I get the hell out. I was shot at last time I was there. Tongue in cheek? Okay. Well, you said what I was typing out. All right, so that's Dallas. Chicago. All right, let it be known I'm a Cub fan through and through. I've been my whole life. Even though I'd never been to Chicago until I was 25 years old. I go back on a fairly regular basis. I've probably been to Chicago 12 or 13 times. And it's always, maybe more than that, actually. It's been for baseball games, a couple of work functions. I had a friend that used to live there, and I would stay with him. I love Chicago. I love that you can go to Grant Park and see Lollapalooza, which I've done before. The Field Museum is great. The way the downtown is all laid out, there's plenty to do in the downtown area. Dallas's downtown's not great. And at night, forget it. Everyone just zooms out to the suburbs. So in Chicago, there's so much to do. There's so much to see. And their public transit is fantastic. I have a friend that lived in Chicago. He sold his car and he just took the train or Uber Eats for his food. He didn't ever have to go anywhere. Major transit system, all the sporting teams, and then some, 2 baseball teams. And the lake. The lake is fantastic. Lake Michigan it's so big that it almost feels like you're on an ocean when you're not. It's big enough to where there's actually like a sea breeze that comes in off of it. It's crazy. If you've never been to Chicago, it's one of my favorite cities in the United States. I have to give it an S tier. Oh, Van. The best thing to do in Dallas is watch you. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you're here. Puff me up. Chicago's amazing, just don't drive there. Yeah, sell your car. Yeah, I mean, if you have a reason to have a car, great, but a lot of people don't need one. San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco a lot for work. I've been to San Francisco probably San Francisco. Okay, you spelled it wrong. We'll forget about it. Let me get my head out of the way. Do you see that? A little typo there. I will say, of all of these cities, San Francisco is probably the one I've been in the most. Other than Dallas, because I used to work for Sega and for 7.5 years, and they were based in San Francisco. And so I was out there 3 or 4 times a year for 7.5 years. So I was out there a lot for work and even a couple trips for fun. I really like San Francisco. It's too goddamn expensive. But San Francisco / Oakland, those two, that whole area, it's great. The temperature, the climate is fantastic. It's cool in the summer. It gets a little warm, but not too bad. The winters aren't terrible because you're right there near the water, so you don't get a ton of snow. San Francisco is an A tier. It's incredibly expensive to live there. Incredibly expensive. But a lot of the best things about that town are within walking distance or a quick cab ride. So you can also get by without a car there. You're just going to have to take a cab to the airport. Well, there's a train there, I think, too. Portland. Portland is... I'm sorry. Look, I have not been to Portland in about 8 years. I'm putting it as a C, and here's why. Portland is Seattle's little brother. and it has a serious meth problem. But here's the thing. Portland is kind of like Austin, but Austin's getting a little bit more love. Portland's pretty cool. It's just not as cool as it thinks it is. That's also true of Austin. But the music scene in Austin is better than the music scene in Portland. Don't even at me. Well, you can at me. I mean, go ahead, at me. Prove me wrong. Austin, music scene. Austin city limits, first of all. And South by Southwest. Portland ain't got any of that shit. But Portland's got what? Voodoo Donut? All right. I'll back off. I don't hate Portland. It's just one of those cities that it punches above its weight class. They do have a professional basketball team, which Austin doesn't have any professional sports team. Portland is like a northern Austin. But Portland really wishes it was Seattle. It has the same exact vibe of a Seattle. It's just not as cool as Seattle. Seattle is really cool. In fact, I put Seattle ahead of San Francisco. They're both super, super expensive. And it's colder in Seattle in the summertime. Walking around downtown Seattle is great. I love it. I've been to Seattle a ton. In fact, as much as San Francisco, maybe. I've been going there for 15 or 16 years now because of my job now. I call on Amazon, and so I'm up there a lot. But my last job at Sega, the whole time I worked at Sega, from day one, I called on Amazon. So I was up in Seattle a lot. But I also have friends up there, and I used to pop up there to see friends as well. So Seattle's so much fun, man. The way Seattle is laid out is great, and I got to give it props. The bus system is free. Correct me if I'm wrong, Krog, because you live in the Seattle area. Is the bus system still free? Because you used to be able to ride the bus for free, which is unbelievably awesome. Downtown Portland has really died since COVID too. I am sorry to hear that. Like that sucks. Because downtown Portland was kind of neat, and maybe I was being a little harsh with the C, but now you're making me think I was on it. Austin's been going down. Very similar to Seattle now, to be honest. Really? Seattle's rough. There's some rough pockets, but I will say last time I was in Seattle, which is right before COVID broke out, like literally before COVID broke out, everywhere you went, all you smelled was weed. Like everywhere. Just walking around outside is like weed. I don't have a problem with that. It's fine. I'm just saying. It was so prevalent. And good for them, I guess, legalize it. I love Seattle, don't get me wrong. All right, the buses are still free. Love it. Portland and Austin were both on Kim Jong-il's nuke list for what it's worth. I don't know what to say to that. The billionairification of Austin has forced a square city into a West Coast shaped hole. Yeah, dude, I hear you. I don't know what has happened. It's funny now because I hear Tesla's moving their headquarters back out to California. Like, are you fucking kidding me? All right, sorry. I'm going to try to get through the rest of this list because I could be on this a while. Denver. I lived outside of Denver for 3.5 years. I went to college. About 3 years. I went to college north of Denver. And I'm telling you, Denver and Chicago, if I could choose two cities to live in this country, it's one or the other. And it's probably Denver. Honestly, I rate Denver even higher than Chicago. God, I love Denver so much. It is such a great city. The vibe is fantastic. It doesn't really have the attitude of a lot of other major cities. It is just, people are happy to be there. And when it's cold in the winter, they get snow. But it's not usually so much snow that the roads aren't clear the next day. Because the sun comes out, even though it's below freezing, and the roads are pretty much cleared off. Also, they're prepared to deal with the infrastructure of major snowstorms, and they do accordingly. So, tons of great music in that area, tons of great music that goes through. Having the mountains there, I don't really ski much, like hardly ever in my whole life, but just going up in the mountains, like I'm just going to go drive up in the mountains. And an hour later, you're there, and you can just kind of park your car somewhere and just chill and just enjoy the view. It's fantastic. Also, Red Rocks. Name me a better music venue than Red Rocks. Go ahead. I'll wait. Put it in the chat. Or YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, put it in the comments. Is there a better music venue than Red Rocks? I challenge you. to tell me one. I know there's some that have more history, Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles, whatever. It's fine. Just you try and tell me a better music venue in this country than Red Rocks. I'm listening. Still love Seattle. It's home now. I'm looking at chat. Downtown Seattle's struggling with heroin. They were when I was up there a few years ago. Homeless was bad before. It's even worse. San Francisco and Seattle, that's the two things. And I have them both A tier, but man, the homeless problem, their cities really need to try to do more to help with that. It's so bad. And it's nothing against people who are homeless. I'm just saying, like, you just wish that the city could figure out a better ways to handle it. The only better venue is Valhalla itself. That's not a real place. Frustrating. The Gorge in Washington, amazing concert venue. I have not been to the Gorge. I need to look that up. You know what? Let's look that up right now. The Gorge. Gorge Amphitheater. All right, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. Holy crap, that's a lot of people. That's pretty cool. But it ain't Red Rocks. It can hold more people. The Gorge can hold more people, right? I'll give it credit. If you've been to Red Rocks, if you've seen a show at Red Rocks, it holds less people. It is a natural rock formation, and the sound going up into that and the way it funnels through those rocks is unbelievable. I saw Tool there. Second leg of their Anima tour. They put 2 songs from that concert on the Salival CD. Oh my god. For Tool, I was sitting like right here. Unfucking real, dude. I've also seen the Omen brothers there. Big ups. All right, love Red Rocks. Gorge looks pretty neat, by the way. I would like to see a show there. Rush and the Police there. Okay. Rush. Oh man, rest in peace. Your roommate performed there. Red Rocks or the Gorge? All right. ATX used to have a harm reduction-ish program for their houseless community. Okay. Oh yeah, it's houseless now. Not homeless. I'm sorry. Red Rocks. Who's your roommate? Or is he in a band? Famous? Honolulu. S tier. S tier. Come at me. Honestly, if you've been to Hawaii. Now, I'm sure people will say Maui's better or what. It's fine. Go ahead. You're in Hawaii. Take an hour, hike up Diamond Head, the crater. You get up there, and the view from Diamond Head is life-altering. I was stone sober. Blew my freaking mind. The view from Diamond Head Mountain. Hawaii. The view from the top of Diamond Head. There it is. So I've climbed up this. It's an easy hike. Like, you don't have to climb it with gear or anything like that. I'm just telling you. This is your view down on all of this. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god. I spent 4 days in Honolulu in February of 2001. I almost started crying when I went to the airport. Went to the North Shore on the last night there with my buddy. We each had 1 beer, and we just sat there and just nursed our beers and just shot the shit and watched the sun go down, staring at the North Shore. Dude, oh my god. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, it's a 5-hour flight from LA. Yes, it's employment options are probably lower than most cities. It's so isolated. Oh, Jesus Christ, Honolulu. You're number one. You're number one. How can it not be? Goated for real. Honolulu. Miami. I've only been to Miami once and it was brief. I will say I do like the vibe. Miami and Orlando, a little similar. I will say Miami. I'm going to go B tier. I did not spend enough time there to really give it credit, but man, the best parts of Miami, there's nothing like it. The food, the nightlife, just the vibe of Miami is really cool. And I got to give it props. Don't know that I would want to live there. to spend a long weekend, it's fantastic. Orlando, you're kind of C tier. There's pockets of Orlando that are cool, but nobody goes to Orlando to do anything other than the touristy shit, right? That's why everyone goes there. And there's lots of touristy stuff, fun touristy stuff to do. But that's the reason you go there? It's really the main draw, and that's why I have to give it, I have to ding it a little bit. Minneapolis. So I've been to Minneapolis a bunch. I grew up in North Dakota. Minneapolis is a 6-hour drive from where I grew up. Minneapolis has improved quite a bit since I was a kid. And I will say the last time I was there, I quite enjoyed myself. I'm going to go B tier. It's way too cold for most people. But the vibe of Minneapolis and Minnesota in general is, they say Minnesota nice. It's real. It's a real thing. Like, people are happy to be there. You know, I talk about people being happy to be in Denver. People are happy to be in Minneapolis. They just enjoy that city and how it's kind of isolated from a lot of other. I mean, you could drive a little ways and get to Chicago and get to Milwaukee, but it's like they have everything they need there, and they just kind of, I don't know, man. The vibe in Minneapolis is always really cool. Just don't go in the winter time. I'm telling you, it sucks. Heat and humidity in Orlando, just no. Yeah. Same with Miami. I don't want to go there in the summer. Snowbirds, basically, right? North for the summer, south for the winter. San Antonio. So we talked about San Antonio already. I will give it a little bit of love because I do like the city walk. The river walk. And it is still kind of a small town. And there's stuff to do there for like a weekend. But that's why I'm putting it kind of down there with Orlando. It's not really a town that you would want to hang out in for more than a couple days, and the humidity there is terrible in the summertime. Because I've been in the summertime the few times I've been. August, it's the worst. Okay, New York. I don't know how you put New York other than anything other than S tier. I'm putting it at the end of S tier because New York is a vibe it is a vibe, and you're on that wavelength or you're not. When I get there, I can be on that wavelength for a few days. And then I'm like, I have to get the hell out of this town. I have to. You get claustrophobic from all the tall buildings. There's so much. It's sensory overload a lot. And I'm not just talking about Times Square, right? The people who live there don't really spend any time in Times Square unless they're taking someone who's in from out of town. It's the cool parts of town, Chelsea, the Upper East Side, walking through Central Park. I've walked through Central Park twice. It was daylight, but it was about to get dark when we walked north from the south end through the north to get to a restaurant that was just in the north end of Central Park. I was there for Comic-Con, actually, for New York Comic-Con. And then I walked back through it at night with my coworkers, and we'd all had some wine, really good Italian restaurant. And just walking through Central Park at like 10 o'clock at night and everything's lit up. So fucking cool. And I'm telling you, New York is a centerpiece of American entertainment for a reason. Everything is there. And if you're somebody, you're there, right? Or you've lived there. I got a coworker friend who lives there, and he loves it. He's like, why would I live anywhere else? And I understand it. But I will tell you, if I lived in New York, like the state of New York, or in the city area of the 5 boroughs, I'd probably want to live in Long Island and just kind of go into the city when I want to. That's because I'm older. If I was in my 20s, I will spend $3,000 for a studio apartment just to be down in the action. But Long Island is really pretty in some spots. So I kind of like all the trees in Long Island. So I got to give some love. You nailed New York. Energy can literally be felt in the air, but after a few days, you got to get out. It's a lot. But I really do like it, and it deserves to be S tier. But for me personally, the back of S tier. Washington, D.C. D.C. is cool as hell, all right? You can go to Smithsonian. It's all free, and you can spend a week and not even see half of what's in the Smithsonian. Not even close. That alone is fantastic. The seat of our government, going through all of the... Take a bike tour, right? Go to DC. Take an evening. There's a company that does night bike tours. It's like 3 to 4 hours long. And you basically ride a mountain bike around and through the entire mall area around it. We go through, and you have to walk through some areas, 'cause some of it's like a respect thing. But the World War II memorial, the Korean War memorial, the Vietnam memorial, you get to see all of that. Lincoln Monument, or the Lincoln Memorial, the Thomas Jefferson, the Monticello. Am I saying that right? All of that. We saw it all, and it started to get dark towards the end of the ride, but it was so cool because stuff is lit up. So you got to see all of that. DC is a cool town. Also, their bars are old. They have a really cool old vibe. A lot of them do. And they have drinks that no one else has, like the Gin Ricky, which used to be a popular drink that was invented in Washington, D.C. Melissa loves it. She hates gin, but we had Gin Rickies there, and she's like, this is good. D.C. is a fun town. Lots of nightlife. And also, no big skyscrapers. Because there's a rule, kind of like in Paris. No building can be taller than a certain height, because the Capitol building is like the biggest of all of the main buildings. So no big skyscrapers, and I like that vibe. And fun fact, the very first time I ever went to DC, I stayed at the Watergate. True story. I did not steal anything. DC is lovely. I ate at the Lincoln Diner and spent the whole day there walking around inside. Just walking around the Capitol area and the Treasury building and the White House. We walked so much. I'm surprised I didn't wear holes in my shoes, and it was so great. And we went in the summertime, and it was cool enough to wear a light jacket and just walk through the city, food carts here and there and food trucks, and you just, yeah, the vibe in DC is really cool. I'm putting it behind San Francisco and Seattle because I've just spent way more time in those cities, and I feel like I know them better. But I've been to DC a couple times, and I really do enjoy it a lot. For people watching, it's totally goated. Yeah, 100%. All right, we're almost done. New Orleans is A tier. I've only been once, but it was for a 4-day weekend, and I had so much fun. I have to put it kind of with Washington, D.C. I will say, though, New Orleans has that. There's a pocket of New Orleans that's really, really cool, and then everything else outside of it it's just like a city. But that section of town with Bourbon Street, and there's a casino and the riverboats and all the old cemeteries and like the trolley rides. That part of town, on the south part of town, is so freaking cool, and it is unlike any other city you've ever been in. And Mardi Gras, I've never been during Mardi Gras. When I went, it was in December. We were going for her birthday, just to get her out of town, and we went for a 4-day weekend. Took her mom with us. It was funny. The three of us had a really good time. I drank a lot of Hurricanes. Holy shit. I got so drunk, I had to go back to the hotel room and pass out. They went and took a trolley ride to go look at a bunch of old houses. I was on my face in bed after like 3 of those things. Yeah, Hurricanes are strong. DC is the second best part of Baltimore. The Wire is still my favorite TV drama of all time. Okay, Phoenix, Arizona. It's too hot in the summer. I've used to go to Phoenix for work trips in February all the time. Scottsdale, really cool. Phoenix in February, amazing. Great golf. Got to play at the Phoenix Open course a couple times in Scottsdale. Lovely. The town itself, it's like one giant suburb. It's weird. Like right in downtown Phoenix is fine. But you could drive for 5 minutes and you're like, there's strip malls everywhere. Like, I just ended in a suburb, and wasn't I just downtown? And look, I will admit, I've spent more time in Scottsdale than I have in Phoenix, and Scottsdale is just a giant strip mall. But then I went to Phoenix one time in July. A friend of mine, one of my best friends, passed away. And I flew up there for a day trip to visit a memorial service they were having for him. I got to meet his family I'd never met in person. And just getting from the airport into a cab, into an Uber, about destroyed me. It was like 115 degrees outside. And don't tell me that dry heat bullshit. I don't want to hear it. Destroyed me. Having said that, I can't be too mad at Phoenix. Just stay away in the summertime. My God. D at best, says Krog. I can't put it as a D. I really can't. Here's the problem. None of these cities that I'm ranking are F tier. I'm spoiling it right now. None of them are F tier. LA is D tier, all right? Let's just be fair. LA is D tier. Some of the worst air quality in the country. It's famous for the smog. And you can say, well, it's improved over the years. I spend more than 3 days in LA. I get nosebleeds because of my allergies and the air quality. I'm not kidding you. It's happened to me twice. And I used to have to go out there every year for E3. I used to have to go out there every year before that for industry meetings when I was in the film business. And there are good things about Los Angeles, but they're all like Venice Beach, Hermosa Beach. We had a friend that lived in Hermosa Beach. In downtown LA, it's terrible. It's spread out too much to where you can't really walk it. It gets hotter than balls in the summertime. I was there during an anime expo in 2019, and it was 100 degrees. LA should not be that hot. And you can say it's climate change, and that might be part of it. But honestly, you can't walk it. The traffic is the worst in the entire country. The air quality is some of the worst in the entire country. Maybe it's worse somewhere else, but quote me on wherever it is worse. I'd like to know. And yes, LA has Hollywood and Culver City and all these other great places, and I love that about it. Hollywood is fantastic.
And I love you.
Noxler rating with a party of 14. Thank you. We are almost done with the Tiermaker ranking American major cities. And I'm talking trash on Los Angeles. I'm sorry. LA kind of sucks. Who lives in LA? A lot of people who want to get famous. A lot of people. I'm just not a fan. The air quality kills me every time I go there. And I can't wait to go home when I'm in LA. It's one of the only cities on this list that I'm just not a fan of. I like things about it. And I always have fun when I'm there, but it's because it's work-related stuff. I've never said, I'm going to go to LA for a weekend just for the fun of it. Nope. Why would you do that? You go to Vegas. You go to Vegas. You go to Vegas. Where is Vegas in here? Wow, Vegas is tough, man. Vegas as a city, as a place to live, don't go in the summertime. We used to have to go there for VSDA every year. It used to be a Video Software Dealer Association when I was in the film industry. And we had to go out there in July every year, and it was hotter than hell. Having said that, there's a lot of fun to be had in Vegas. I've gone there for fun multiple times. I took my dad there for his 50th. There's so much to do in Vegas. But if you're not into gambling, or you're not drinking, you're not a drinker, the pool of entertainment gets really, really much smaller. So, but I like Vegas. I would go back right now. I would go and see some Cirque du Soleil. And if you ever go, put the money down, buy the tickets, see O. The Cirque du Soleil show called O. It's just called O. One of the best things I've ever seen in my life. Holy crap. Noxler, thank you for the raid. Little kitty cat is here to say hello. LA does suck. It kind of does. Juggernaut, I made it in time to get hazed. Why you're not getting? Oh, because Boston's in here. Last city is Boston. I've only been to Boston for a weekend, and I regret it. I want to go back. I really like Boston. I like the way Boston's set up. I like the way it's all laid out. I loved walking around downtown and just bar hopping and the vibe of the city. It was in September or October. It wasn't too cold. I was going up there for a race in Loudon, New Hampshire, and stayed in Boston for the weekend, and got a rental car, drove up for the race, and came back and hung out in Boston again, and then went back home on Sunday. Or was it Monday? Boston was so much fun, and I want to go back. I want to go back and see a Red Sox game really, really bad. We walked around Fenway Park and stopped in a bunch of Irish pubs. Just didn't get to go inside Fenway Park because it was already too late at that time. But, man, I would love to go back to Boston. I really would. And I know a couple people in the chat actually live in the Boston area. I would love to go back. Vegas is Vegas, simple as that. I mean, what more can you say? Vegas is world famous for a reason. He's only being nice because I'm here. I'll bring you to a game, but I'll go to a Bruins game. Hell yeah. No, I'm not being nice because you're here. Juggernaut, do you really think I'm afraid of talking shit to you? I'm not. no, I really did like Boston. I just wish I could go back. I just haven't had a reason to really go. And we've talked about going. We actually almost went about a year ago, and we didn't end up making it. And we changed our plans. It was 2 years ago. Anyway, there it is. There's my rankings of major cities in the country. So what do you think? What do you think? Honolulu is goated. 4 days there, and I almost started crying. I did not want to leave. I'm not kidding. It helped that I had a friend who lived in the town, and he lived about 20 minutes north of downtown, and I was crashing on his couch, and then he just took me around and entertained me. He's like, we went to a luau, we went to Pearl Harbor, we went up to the North Shore, we went downtown just walking around shopping and bar hopping one day. We went boogie boarding one day, bodyboarding, whatever, and just hung out on the beach. And he's like, this is my life. He worked at a port of call where every car that came through into the island came through this port that he worked at. And like, he would text me every once in a while. He's like, dude, I just drove a Lamborghini off of a truck. And then what do you do on your lunch break? Oh, I go surf on my lunch break. I take like an hour and a half lunch and I go surf because I can get to the beach in like 10 minutes. Unfriggin' believable. I lived outside of Denver. I love Denver. The vibe in Denver is hard to beat. It really is. Chicago, being a big Cubs fan, I've been up to Chicago a lot. It's cold in the winter, but I always go in the summertime, and I always have so much fun. And there's so much to do in Chicago. Seriously, you don't have to be there for sports. Just don't go in the winter. And New York City is a fantastic town that I can't be in for more than 3 or 4 days. But when I go, you're never ever bored. And the people actually are really nice in New York. Don't let the stuff fool you about people being rude in New York. They're not. They'll figure out you're a local pretty quick, and they'll help you find your way around. If you're not a local, then it might be a little different. But no. I love New York. I've been there plenty of times for work and for fun, and I would go back right now. I'm sure I could find some things to do that I've never done up there. I never went out to the Statue of Liberty. I was down in the park that's down there, and I could see it. Had lunch in that park there, and you could see the Statue of Liberty. We just never took the ferry over. We didn't have time that day. But been all over New York. I love New York City, and I've been to Brooklyn, and I've been to Long Island. Not been to Queens. I've not been to the Bronx. So there you go. All right, I've got to go to San Diego. I've never been to San Diego, although there's a chance I might go this year for Comic-Con. We'll see. It depends on who from my accounts are going. So yeah, I've got a bit of a list down at the bottom that I have not been to. I'll admit there's a pretty good list here, but more than half of the list I have been to. So I think it was fair for me to do the list. Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, which of these is your favorite? And I asked this earlier, but I want to double ask it. Red Rocks is the greatest music venue in the country. Agree or disagree? Krog in the chat said, in Twitch chat said, it's the Gorge. He says that's his competition up in Washington. Looks pretty cool in the pictures, but I would argue that Red Rocks is cooler. What do you think? Is there a better music venue than Red Rocks in this country? Tell me about it. I want to see it in the chat, and I want to see it on the YouTube comments. I think we are done with this, though. I really appreciate y'all hanging out tonight and watching this Tiermaker. I'm Wheeler Dealer. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, I hope you throw a quick subscribe. I would love it. If you're watching on Twitch, throw me a follow. Please, please, please. We're growing the channel. We're growing. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one.